And if they had told me to stop, I would have ignored them.
Okay. So
I think you're wrong about that. I resist your characterization.
you would be there alone without Clint anywhere around you?
Yeah, I don't need supervision, counselor.
Perfect.
I was conducting an investigation.
Okay, well, we're going to pull it up in just a minute. I'll help
Fantastic.
refresh your memory.
Yeah. I don't need law enforcement to babysit me.
Okay. Did you find any texts where Eric talked about having an open marriage with Kouri? Did you find evidence of him sexting with people other than Kouri?
Kouri and I are starting an open relationship tonight, so I told her I'm taking you home about those messages.
Did they repeatedly talk about having sex acts together?
I don't recall.
Did they repeatedly talk about oral sex together?
I don't recall.
Did they talk about anal sex together?
Also don't recall.
But you read them all.
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat.
Sir, take your time and please watch your step.
This is Todd Gabler, the private investigator in this case that we've heard a lot about. Now, before he testifies, he is going to let us know one very important thing about him right now.
You appear to be recovering from something.
Yes.
Oh, poor guy.
On January 13th, I underwent a 5-level PCLF. That's a posterior cervical laminectomy and fusion. My neck has been fused together with titanium rods.
Mr. Gabler worked as a PI for 34 years. He worked on over 100 homicide cases, and he does know his stuff in digital forensics. Now, he is supposed to find out what happened to Eric Richins. Did Eric take his own life? Did he take the fentanyl? Or did someone else surreptitiously put fentanyl in something that Eric had ingested?
All my clients, it's basically the same speech. You're hiring me to find the truth. The truth is sometimes very difficult for us to accept. I've often said that the truth is half what you most fear that it is, and half what you most desire it to be. And you cannot separate those two from the truth. I told them that they would have to accept the truth about what happened to their brother, no matter what that truth was. If he took his own life, they would have to accept that. If someone was responsible for his death, they would also have to respect my investigation and accept that truth. They agreed.
Sir, from that point forward, did you conduct an independent investigation?
I did.
Did you conduct your investigation entirely independent of the sheriff's office?
Yes.
Did you provide information from your investigation to the sheriff's office?
Yes, on many occasions. In this case, it was clear to me that 2 hypotheses needed to be looked at. Number 1, Eric took his own life as a matter of accidental overdose. Number 2, Kouri Richins surreptitiously had Eric ingest a massive amount of fentanyl and killed him.
This private investigator conducted probably about 45 to 50 interviews, and they were recorded. Now, as he was going through the phone records of Eric and Kouri's, he realized that, leading up to Eric's death, there were hundreds of texts and calls between Kouri Richins and a woman named Carmen Lauber all of a sudden. And he was really, alarmed by this, because when he looked into Carmen Lauber, he found her criminal history in regards to drug. She used drugs and that she had something called a dirty urine. He was very concerned about this because, again, Eric had died of fentanyl.
Carmen had a very extensive criminal record involving drug use and potentially drug sales. I noted that Carmen had a dirty urinalysis, meaning that she tested positive for prohibited drugs in her drug court around the time of Eric's death. I was very concerned about the high number of contacts and the criminal history for Carmen, and I alerted the sheriff's office about that.
Hey, Pato.
As part of your investigation, did you search the Richins home?
Yes.
When did you first search it?
I believe it was May the 8th of 2023. That was the day that it was released by the sheriff's office. It was an estate asset. Kouri's lawyer, two of her lawyers from Ray Quinney Nebaker, had showed up as soon as the sheriff's office had departed. And I had arranged for security to stand watch at the house after the sheriff's office released that. So I engaged in a conversation with counsel who wanted access to the home, and it was eventually agreed that one of the lawyers would accompany me on an inventory of the property, all of the assets in the house, all of the items in the house and the detached garage. And so that lawyer stayed for a couple of hours and then left. I never saw them during my search of the property again. I continued to search the property for 4 or 5 days, and then that was the end of my contact with the house initially.
We learned that anytime he searched the home or came in contact with a house, he would record with a GoPro camera. Yes, I love when they use technology. He would also have an audio recording as backup, but he does recall this one time where he didn't have the video camera with him and he only had audio. Now, the state is going to segue into who accompanied him during the times that he was at the house. Was Clint, the brother-in-law, and Eric's sister Amy's husband? Was he there the entire time? Was Clint, attached to him to the hip? And he did mention that there were times where he was at the house or Clint would arrive later on. He wasn't really paying attention to where Clint was, but he also talks about how when he searched a detached garage, he was in there for 8 hours by himself, feeding documents into the scanner, and Clint was probably not there. Now, throughout the trial, it has been hinted by the defense team, especially during the crime scene text testimony, that maybe someone planted evidence at the house, that things were just showing up and that weren't there before. And I have to assume they're alluding to this private investigator. But man, lucky him that he always had a camera with him to record, except for that one time.
You were recording with your GoPro the whole time?
Yes, with the exception I noted, yes.
Did you ever remove, other than your recording equipment, cameras, and audio, GoPro, all of that,
Yeah.
did you ever bring anything into the home?
No, I did not.
Did you ever remove anything from the home?
Yes, I did.
What did you remove from the home?
So during my May searches of the house, and in particular in the detached garage office, I encountered a number of documents that had Ray Quinney and Nebaker letterhead on the top, and they were either communications between Kouri and her lawyers, or they were billing records from her lawyers. That would be improper for me to read or possess. It would be unethical. I placed these documents into a manila envelope, and as I encountered more of them, I would simply grab a hold of them and put them into the manila envelope. And at the end of my May search, I took that envelope to the office of Ray Quinney and Nebaker and handed it over. There were other things that I removed from the house. Sort of the general category of the kids, the boys.
I wonder if she was shaking her head a little bit there. I don't know. So I guess so he found some documents between Kouri and her attorneys. He thought it was improper if he were to take them, go through them. So he put them in an envelope and then he handed them over to, I'm assuming maybe it's a law firm, but I don't know. Kind of seemed like Kouri was shaking her head a little bit there. I don't know.
Of Ray Quinney and Nebaker, and handed it over. There were other things that I removed from the house. sort of the general category of the kids, the boys things. The boys had requested a few things. I believe Child Protective Services or someone at DCFS had requested that we get documents that pertain to the boys. And I believe there were some other documents that I removed that were personal documents that were now the property of Kouri Richins Benson. These documents involved vital records, birth records for Eric, other vital documents that, we would generally safekeep for ourselves, and I turned those over to my client. Any item that I considered to be evidence was removed by the sheriff's office, not me.
So if you came upon something that you considered to be evidence,
Apparently there was like a letter or something that was found at the foot of the bed, and defense team was trying to say, they're like, oh, well, that it wasn't there at the times when you guys searched it. It wasn't there when you showed up for the call when Eric was deceased. It's like, well, yeah, probably because the person went through the stuff and then found it and then just left the foot of the bed so the law enforcement can come in and just be like, oh, okay, here it is. Now, in cross-examination with the defense, oh my goodness, this was probably the most spiciest cross-examination of this trial, and I really did not expect that because things start off pretty chill, but then we get into some back and forth, and let me tell you, this witness is not a witness that defense attorney can steamroll over. I think they were expecting to.
I'm one of Ms. Richins' attorneys, so it's nice to meet you. So I want to just kind of start with a basic observation, but just to make it crystal clear. You are not law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
And you've never been law enforcement in your whole life, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the rules and ethics and expected practices of private investigators are significantly different, would you agree with me, than those that apply to licensed law enforcement?
Oh, we know where defense attorney is going with this.
I don't know that I would agree with that in every circumstance. A private investigator, when he is hired by a lawyer, is bound to all the ethics that lawyer is bound to.
Okay.
So,
But, for example, you don't have to go get a warrant to go look at a house.
well, right, that's the state action distinction.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not a state actor.
Right.
I've never been a state actor.
Right.
I will never be a state actor.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is where I realized in the very beginning that defense counsel, she's going to have a tough time with this witness.
You want to go search a house for 6 straight days and look at thousands of documents. Mm-hmm. You don't need to get a judge to give you permission to do that, right?
No, I got the permission of Kouri's lawyers who represented her to do that.
And you also got the permission of Clint Benson, right?
Oh, man. Maybe she didn't expect that answer.
And in fact, Clint gave you a key.
Yes.
And you had that key to use at your discretion.
Yes.
And there were times when you would go to the house and Clint was not there and you would let yourself in, right?
I believe that my testimony covered that, and that was that Clint was aware that I was there, and he was either on his way or there with me.
There were occasions where you would be spending hours and hours and hours in the office, because I've
Yes.
watched all the videos,
Yes.
and you would be there alone without Clint anywhere around you.
Yeah, I don't need supervision, counselor.
Perfect.
I was conducting an investigation, independent investigation, and he had given me the key, trusted me with that, and I was authorized to enter the premises at will.
Right. So if he got on the stand and said you were never doing anything outside his eye, that would be false.
Well, from his perspective, he had knowledge of my presence there, as I have testified every time I was there. So from his perspective, it may look different.
But you agree with me, sir, that there's hours and hours and hours of video of you alone in that office going through things.
I think that I've already testified to that.
Okay.
I don't need supervision.
Now, you were not permitted access to the house until after Kouri had been arrested, right?
No, that's not correct.
You got in the house before she was arrested?
No, that is not correct.
Okay, help me out.
The house was released by the Summit County Sheriffs on the 8th. That's what gave us, that was the trigger, not Kouri's arrest. It was the end of their search that triggered our access to the house.
Okay.
The police were executing a warrant.
Do you know when Kouri was arrested, sir?
I don't recall the exact date or time.
During the time after Eric's death, but before Kouri's arrest on May 8th, did you ever go inside the house for that entire year?
I'm sorry, could you ask that again?
Sure. During the time between when Eric Richins died on March the 4th, in the early morning hours of 2022, and May 8th of 2023, were you ever inside the house at any point in between those times?
No, never.
Perfect. So the first time you ever got in that house, over a year had expired since Eric had passed.
Yes.
Okay. You've also testified here, I think very honestly, that on repeated occasions you notified the police, hey, there's something you missed. You might want to go back to the house and find it again.
I mean, I'm not going to adopt your characterization, but it is true that I called them back to that house when I discovered something that I thought was evidentiary.
How many times?
Oh, I don't know, 4, 5.
So on at least 4 to 5 occasions, you found things the police had missed.
Yeah, that's been my experience throughout my career.
And you
The
told
police
them,
never get everything, ever.
Right.
Kouri doing the thing again where she's staring him down.
Well, I'm not going to
It's true
argue.
in every case I've ever handled.
Sure, not going to argue with you on that one.
Yeah, it's true.
So they know that you have full access to this house, right?
I don't know what they know. I can't answer that.
Well, you're calling them every time you find something.
Well, what opinion they formed in their mind is not within my knowledge.
Okay, fair. True, you called them every time you found something.
That I thought was of evidentiary value in their investigation.
And did any of them ever say, you know what, we're good, stop calling us?
No, I don't recall that at all.
So then the converse of that is they encourage you to keep doing that.
Well, no. That is not the converse of your hypothetical, and I do not agree with your assessment.
Okay.
This is not my case. My case is in the civil court. Anything that we thought was of value to the criminal case, we turned it over.
And the police were happy with that.
I don't know if they were happy or sad or distraught. I have no idea as to their emotional condition.
They sure never told you to stop.
The police never directed me to do anything, and if they had told me to stop, I would have ignored them.
Okay. So you could go in without a warrant, find something, call them, tell them to get a warrant, and they'd come get it.
I think that's an oversimplification and a vilification. I had permission to enter those premises. I had every right to be there. I didn't need a warrant. I'm not a state actor. I have the permission of the property owner. So I don't agree with your characterization.
Now, in this next line of questioning, honestly, it did not go well for the defense at all.
Isn't it true that you moved other things around in that house often?
No, that is not true.
Did you move a computer that you located in the office?
I don't recall moving a computer in the office, but I did not move it out of the office.
Did you put it in your Tesla?
If you are talking about the C&E computer, I did not find it in the office. That is not how that worked.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm having difficulty keeping my head up.
Oh, no worries. Whatever you need, sir, to be comfortable.
Dude, Kouri, no empathy whatsoever.
Take a minute.
That look she gave him. Look at those look, man. I'll play it back.
Excuse me, I'm having difficulty keeping my head up.
Oh, no worries. Whatever you need, sir, to be comfortable. Take a minute. Yep, I'll go back to that. It's going to take her a minute to upload that, Your Honor, so we'll get to that. You don't recall putting electronics, documents in your Tesla and driving away from the house?
Oh, I remember that, yes.
Okay.
But that was not the C&E computer.
Okay, what computer was that?
I don't recall. I'd
So-
have to see the video.
So you
That's
were-
why I make them.
You removed a laptop from the office and put it in your Tesla and drove away with it?
I don't recall that, no. I do not. That would have been my, if there was a laptop in that office, it was mine.
Okay, well, we're going to pull it up in just a minute. I'll help
Fantastic.
refresh your memory.
Yeah.
Who's that? I thought she was the
Also,
computer.
you mentioned earlier that you didn't take...
While the defense team pulls up footage to show this investigator that he put a laptop in his computer, we're going to go into a different line of questioning at the moment. And again, I don't think it went well for the defense team.
Then you drove it to a locksmith
I did.
and you busted into the safe.
I did not bust into the safe.
Well, he did.
He bumped. He used a technique called bumping. It's the movement of the door and the frame of the safe that allows it to come open.
Okay, but you didn't have a combination.
I didn't, I don't know if that was a combination. I thought there was a key to that one.
It was forced open with a hammer, right?
I think it was a rubber mallet, and it was dropped onto the ground.
Okay.
I think that's what eventually got it opened, was that it was dropped onto a flat surface.
And when you were doing that, there's no law enforcement
What kind of cheap ass safe is this? You just drop it, it just opens.
there, correct?
I don't need law enforcement to babysit me.
Okay. And you open it up, and there's clips from guns in there, right?
I would have to go back to my report to recall exactly what was in there.
But you handled it with your bare hands, no gloves.
I did.
All right. And, I'm sorry. You also found an unusual residue in the safe. Do you recall that? That you touched with your fingers?
I don't recall that.
All right. We'll play that in a second.
Fantastic.
I do think we found the video of the laptop, so can
Fantastic. Fucking do it.
we queue up for the witness only GXO10073?
Yeah, that's my laptop. I am scanning into my laptop the documents that I am going through at the office. That is my laptop.
The black one?
Yes.
Okay. So you're scanning all the documents you're finding in the office.
Oh no defense. Are we just gonna are we just gonna graze over that? They're making it seem like he was like taking like, I don't know, Kouri or Eric's computer and putting the Tesla, and then now she was like, oh no, actually it was a laptop. Oh wait, actually, oh okay, maybe it is your laptop then. All right, maybe she'll fix it somehow. All right, Miss Nestor, I'll give you a chance. Or she's just gonna act like it didn't. Oh, it's your laptop? Okay, well, anyways, let me ask you about this. You're scanning documents? Oh, okay, tell me more about the document scanning. What kind of documents were you scanning?
That is my laptop.
The black one?
Yes.
Okay. So you're scanning all the documents you're finding in the office and then loading them into your laptop.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And again, Clint Benson was not present when you were doing any of this.
Yes, that is my testimony on direct.
Okay.
Was he never deposed? Was he never? Did they never subpoena him? Because I know he's more involved in the civil case, but still, was he not deposed? Like, hello, could we not have already gone over this line of questioning to avoid these surprises?
All right. We'll get the safe one up to refresh your memory about that residue. You don't remember touching some residue and filming it and asking the safe breaker if that was unusual to find residue in a safe?
I don't recall that. I would have to refer back to the video that I made of that for just this purpose.
Okay. No worries. So my understanding is you were at the house. There were some times before you got access to the house while Ms. Richins was still living there that you would sit outside her house and observe the house while she was in it. Is that fair?
It is not fair. That is false.
You never did that?
I never sat outside her house and watched her. False.
Not on March 9th of 2023?
Correct.
Not on April 12th of 2023?
Correct.
But you did put trackers on their cars, is that right?
I did.
And that's a secret device.
We love this. Trackers, man. We do find out that he did put a tracker on Kouri's vehicle and on Kouri's mom's vehicle that was used by her brother driving it. He also tried to track Carmen Lauber at times, but was unable to because he would realize that she wasn't the one who was driving it, so he would remove the tracker. This next portion, I am just going to play the entirety of it because I want you guys to see how this all started and how it's going to end up going down at the end of this cross-examination.
Did you review text messages between Eric and Bryce?
Bryce Knudsen?
Yes.
I don't recall specifically, but if they were there, I probably looked at them.
Okay.
So at this point, I'm like, okay, there might be some interesting text messages between Bryce and Eric. And then we had this next question, and I honestly didn't think it was related to Bryce or Eric at all.
When you reviewed Eric's texts, did you find evidence of him sexting with people other than Kouri?
I don't recall that. I did investigate allegations of an affair with Eric.
Okay, but that's not my question. My question is, do you recall seeing sexting, as the kids say, on Eric's phone with people other than Kouri?
I don't really know what you mean by sexting. I don't know what the parameters of that are. And so my answer is no.
Did you find any texts where Eric talked about having an open marriage with Kouri?
I don't recall that.
So that's all that we hear so far. So I assumed that that was just the end of it, and we wouldn't really hear too much about this open marriage thing or sex thing. The defense attorney is going to pivot, but guys, don't worry. She'll come back to this at the end of the cross-examination, and man, was it worth it for the viewers, but not for the defense, I would say.
This is an outgoing call from Eric Richins' phone on March the 9th of 2022. I'm sorry, February the 14th of 2022 at 12:23, 2 minutes before the first record that we talked about, and that is to a different number, 801-473-5058.
So as part of your investigation that you were doing on the mirror phone, you could at least identify a call that was made by Eric at 12:23 p.m. on February 14th, right?
I'm confused. We're looking at an invoice record from a carrier, and you're
Right.
asking me about his phone. Those are two different things.
Did this invoice come from his phone?
No,
Billing records?
from his carrier, from Verizon.
Right.
That's not a record from his phone. That's a record from his carrier.
I understand.
Two different things.
So according to the bill from his carrier,
Yeah.
he made a call at 12:23 p.m. on February 14th.
Correct.
Okay.
Objection. There's a 901 problem here.
I'm done with it, Your Honor.
Hold on. You got to approach for a moment if you would.
Did you ever make any calls or any trips to Mexico as part of your investigation in this case?
No.
Here's another part of the cross-examination where the defense was trying to make a point with something, but I don't think they expected the witness on the stand to take them onto a whole different road, okay? We're on like the backcountry roads right now. We're even on the highway.
Did you ever interview Kouri?
I did. I spoke to Kouri. She called me on January the 19th of 2023.
All right.
Wow,
And
good
she
memory.
voluntarily spoke to you
She called me.
and talked to you voluntarily?
She did. And I stopped her. I told her it would be inappropriate and unethical for me to continue the conversation outside the presence of her lawyer. I then texted her lawyer and had a phone call with her lawyer about the propriety of her
Hey, attorney, your client's being dumb again. Get her in. Tell her what her rights are, okay? Tell her to stop incriminating herself.
client speaking without her presence.
Okay.
I then
So you-
requested that Kouri submit to an interview multiple times.
All right, stop.
Okay.
Don't reveal what anyone else said to you.
Okay.
The point is, Kouri called you to talk to you and tell you her side, right?
I don't know what her intentions were. She seemed very angry that I had contacted one of her business associates. I believe that was the reason she called me on that date.
Okay. And so you never to this day have sat down with Kouri and heard her version of what happened?
No, despite my repeated requests.
Okay. But she called you.
And I was bound by the ethics not to talk to her outside the presence of her lawyer. She was a litigant. She sued my client.
Okay. And ultimately, as you were working with the trust, did you become aware that the trust filed a wrongful death suit against Kouri?
I am.
And are you aware they're seeking over $10 million in damages against Kouri Richins?
I didn't know that. It's irrelevant to me.
Okay.
After conferring with her team, counsel decides to go back and revisit the open marriage text message and sexting. Let's find out who Eric was sexting.
Seeing any texts with Eric about him and Kouri having an open relationship, and you said you could not recall. Is that right? Do you recall looking at that text?
I do.
You've seen this one?
I believe I have. It's a joke.
It's a joke?
It is. It appears to me to be a joke.
Did you see the texts around this text?
I did.
So you have reviewed the text between Eric and Bryce?
I don't know. I don't know that this is a text from Bryce. I have no idea. This does not identify Bryce.
So
doesn't
now that-
identify anybody.
Now that you have your memory refreshed, do you remember seeing this text between Eric and another individual saying that Kouri and I are starting an open relationship tonight? Right?
It says, Kouri and I are starting an open relationship tonight, so I told her I'm taking you home.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They need to stop doing that. It's like, oh, this was such a big deal. Eric wants to be in an open relationship. And then he reads the rest of the fucking message and it's like, okay, so you're telling me that you seriously think Eric is like completely into Bryce, his best friend? It's not a joke. Eric has gay tendencies. I don't know, man. I just feel like when you do stuff like that, the jury's not going to trust you. Okay, they're not going to trust your interpretation of things anymore because it's quite obvious that you're just grasping here, and you're just being purposely misleading, dude. What the fuck?
Kouri and I are starting an open relationship tonight, so I told her I'm taking you home.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you left that out of your report.
No. This would be part of my report.
She's gonna roll with it. Oh, so you left this out of your report? It's like, okay, all right. How am I gonna deal with you?
Did you see sexting between
Eric and
Bryce and Eric when you looked at their texts?
I don't recall that, no.
Katie?
And is this sexting? I don't know what you mean.
No, I'm not talking about this one. I'm
Okay.
talking about other ones.
All right. I don't recall. I'm talking about many hundreds of thousands of messages in this case.
All right, so from a jury perspective, Eric is rich. He makes $33,000 every month. Okay. He likes to hunt exotic animals. He actually went to jail because he broke some hunting law. All right. Eric is a drug addict. Uses fentanyl. Swallowed a bunch of fentanyl pills. Yummy. Eric used drugs 20 years ago in high school. Or he abused some sort of medication. Now Eric is gay. All right, guys. What else we got here? What am I missing? He was sexting his best friend Bryce. And Eric and Kouri are in an open relationship. So Kouri having an affair, no big issue. All right, guys. Eric's gay.
Can't recall them all.
I want to see the rest of the text messages. I don't know. Maybe he is. Or not. Dude, I'm so serious. We heard about, sexting. Oh my gosh. Okay, Eric. Okay, there's like an affair thing. Man, was Eric having multiple affairs with multiple women? What was going on? And then we find out about this open relationship thing. Oh my gosh. Was Eric like telling women that he was in an open relationship? And that's why, he was trying to maybe like court these women and basically tell them it's okay because, even though he's married, it's okay. Relationship is open. But then we find out that it's with Bryce, a best friend. That's where we're going. The best friend, the secret gay relationship.
Do you remember seeing a whole bunch of emails like this or texts like this between Eric and Bryce?
Oh, I want to see. Kouri stares down
Honestly,
the witness.
no, I don't remember. Like I say, there were hundreds of thousands of messages in this case. I don't remember even 1% of them. As I look at this, I mean, it just makes me laugh. It doesn't appear to be serious.
So how many of these joke sextings did you review that Eric did?
I don't understand this to be sexting. I think you're wrong about that. I resist your characterization. These are two friends joking with each other. That's what I'm reading here.
And they did that all the time,
I don't know.
hundreds of times.
If I had the records and
I have like a group of guy friends who are like, they like to gas each other up, okay? They like to talk about how sexy each other is, or like how sexy the person is, how buff they are, you know, how strong their arms look, how wonderful their butts look, their legs, like how toned they are, and but they're not gay, you know. It's just like, guys, people are just being silly sometimes. You're just trying to be funny. That's all. I mean, maybe they are, but I don't know. I got to see the context of these messages.
then I could answer your
Could be
question.
compliments, you know. Could just be how they joke with each other.
But I don't remember all of these messages. And yeah, this is a joke.
Did you review all of the texts between Bryce and Eric?
I think at one time I would have gone through every single text message that was available to me on Eric's cloned phone. So do I recall it? Well, I mean, I recall that it was a bit mind-numbing. There was a lot there. Nothing particularly stuck out in my mind or memory about those messages.
Did they repeatedly talk about having sex acts together?
I don't recall.
Did they repeatedly talk about oral sex together?
I don't recall.
Did they talk about anal sex together?
Also don't recall.
But you read them all,
I'm sure that I did.
and it's all joking.
Knowing what I know about Bryce and Eric, yeah, that's how I interpret it.
So you do remember reading things of this nature, and you interpreted it all as joking.
No, as I sit here today, I interpret it that way. I would have interpreted it that way back at my original reading of it. That doesn't mean I recall it. It means I have an opinion about what I thought then. That's different.
And what did you think then? They were joking?
No. What I think now is that this was a joke. I do not have a recollection of this at the time that I first read it, but if I had a recollection of that time, I'm sure it would be the same as it is today.
And if there were these tens of 20s of 50s of these types of emails, all of them would be jokes?
Foundation.
Sustained.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I have, Your Honor.
That is what she chose to end the line of conversation with. Man, she probably really thought that was like a mic drop. I haven't seen the emails or the text messages yet. It's possible that if I did see it, maybe I'd be like, oh wow, yeah, that's all cool. It seems like they're really flirting here. It looks like it's serious, but I kind of trust this witness. You know, he's kind of I think he was completely thrown off by the sexting question, and he's like, the fuck are you talking about? And then he's like, oh, you're talking about sexting with Eric and Bryce? And then like you start seeing him like kind of like the corner of his mouth start like lifting up and like smiling a bit, like he's like I do trust this witness, but oh boy. And you know what? Sitting here rewatching it right now, I cannot believe that it went down that way. Oh gosh. All right, let's do redirect with the state.
There wasn't any serious read that Eric Richins and Bryce Knudsen were engaged in some homosexual affair.
0.
In all of the text messages you reviewed, did you see any evidence of Eric using illicit street drugs?
Is Kouri gonna subpoena Bryce to testify and then confront him with these text messages to try to convince the jury that they're gay for each other? Can't wait for the defense to present their case.
You mentioned legal requirements for a licensed private investigator to place a GPS tracker on a car. What are those legal requirements?
So the statute governing that was adopted a few years ago. It requires that before placing the device, a licensed private investigator must identify the person or persons that are driving that vehicle and potentially the owner of that vehicle, and that they submit a request to query the protected persons database in the state of Utah for any record of those persons that are subject to the GPS tracking. That is designed to keep us from tracking people who have protective orders or temporary restraining orders or other lawful processes that define them as a protected person. We cannot track you in that circumstance. We do not have independent access to that database. So we must ask an agency of the state for a yay or nay. Is this person in the protected persons database? We have to do that before we place a device. We have to be certain that we are not tracking a protected person. So I submitted those requests to the appropriate counties of the jurisdictions where I placed these devices. The Summit County Sheriff's Office initially declined my request under the statute. I insisted. I finally got them to comply. I did the same with the Wasatch County Sheriff's Office, and they complied with my request.
Did you conduct your investigation entirely within the bounds of the law?
I believe I did.
Did you conduct your investigation entirely within the ethical bounds of private investigators and the attorneys you were working for in this case?
I believe that I did.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Nestor, anything further for Mr. Gabler?
No, Your Honor.
May we release this witness?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your time. Please step safely. You are free to go, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Bloodworth, is this an appropriate time to recess for the day?
That was Todd Gabler's testimony today. Tomorrow we will hear from, I think, the lead detective, Jeff O'Driscoll. Now, tomorrow I'm going to try to start a little bit on time, maybe probably like 10 or 15 minutes behind because, they lag a lot in this courtroom. But I will be watching it with you guys live until maybe about like 2.5 hours in. I have to pop out for about an hour or two, but then I'll be back to watch the trial for the rest of the day or Tuesday. So I will see you guys there. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the recaps that I've been doing so far. We did a recap for last week for week 2, a recap for week 1. Feel free to check it out. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. And yeah, thank you so much for your support. Pop in the live stream, say hello. And other than that, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. Get some rest, take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow.